Okay, so welcome. This is Safe Streets Fire Prevention class. My name is Eric Hasted. I'm a community mobilizer with Safe Streets. And I think we can kind of get right into it. If you're unfamiliar with Zoom, kind of the typical practice is that you keep yourself muted unless you have an actual question to ask. But I will also leave it up to our presenter for any kind of, anything that she would prefer during her presentation. And so we have Lieutenant Marja Stowell, and she's from Tacoma Fire Department, and she'll be leading this class today. So Marja, take it away.
Perfect. Well, thank you all for coming tonight. I know this is a new presentation model for me. So I did prepare a PowerPoint, but I am not a fan of PowerPoints. So I want to make sure that I am answering all of your questions. So before we start, can everybody feel free to unmute yourselves if it's quiet where you are, and let me know what it is exactly that you are looking to hear about tonight. Tomatoes? All right, any particular fire concerns that you have right now?
I don't have any. I just wanted to hear about fire prevention for me as a homeowner and for my neighborhood.
Okay.
So, just open to whatever information you have that will help me.
All right. Well, as we go along, if you have questions, feel free to either speak up or raise a hand. Can everyone see the PowerPoint presentation right now? Is that visible on your phone or computer?
Yep. Yes.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to go over basic home fire safety, but I'm also going to touch a little bit on wildland and urban interface fires. So as we start here, it's just some general information about fire in Washington. And this is everything that's reported to State Patrol. That being said, not every agency ends up reporting, but the basic facts are 9,000, about 300 fires happened in 2019. So, that was almost $115 million in damage. And that also being said, the damage is estimated by firefighters. So I think it's safe to say that it's probably a lot more expensive. But that's really a fire department fire response every 38 seconds. So it's pretty frequent. And as a Tacoma firefighter, I know what our numbers look like. And last year, we went to 1,649 fires. So for us, that's Tacoma, Fife, and Fir Crest. That's a lot of fires. A lot of them are small fires. It might be, a trash can. It might be a bark fire, something small like that. So it's not 1,600 structure fires, but it's still a fire response. And that's out of a total of about 49,000 calls that we run every year. So there have been it's been a really bad wildland fire season. I know not everyone was affected directly by the fires, but the smoke was definitely a big problem and made people pay attention. So if you want to make your neighborhood and your home as safe as possible from wildfires, what you really want to do is make sure that you don't have flammable materials near your house. So you can see that little picture, that little zone around the house. If you look in areas where they frequently have fires, there's typically a lot of rock around the house, nothing that can catch on fire. The building materials, typically cement siding. Now that's not something we have a lot of here. We have a lot of wood siding. I've definitely seen my fair share of fires with vinyl siding. So, I'm not going to ask people to re-side their houses, but definitely walk around the house. If you have trees, make sure that they're limbed up to about 6 feet. If you can keep that grass or whatever ground cover you have wet when it's that high, when it's really hot out and we've got fire starting around, that definitely helps. fire can move really quickly through grass. But if all there is grass for it to ignite, it burns out pretty quickly. It's when it hits bushes like juniper bushes and it starts to creep up trees. So just make sure that everything is cleared off the ground, and that includes porches too. A lot of people don't really think about what's under their deck. And a lot of times it's, you know, it's old, it's basically mulch. It's leaves, pine needles, things like that. So a big suggestion is to kind of cover that area, maybe with mesh. Sometimes people put paneling up so that you don't have more debris there. Just make sure that everything you put down is not flammable. So does anyone have any questions about wildland fires, or what we, in the city, it's really urban interface? Any questions or concerns? Robin?
So we live in a rented house, and next door we've got a neighbor who's planted bamboo between her house and our house, and the bamboo's grown up really tall. We're on the second story and it's up to our windows. Is that something, do you think we should ask our landlord to reach out to her to ask to trim it down?
That's something that I'd be concerned with. You know, you don't always have a lot of space between homes, but making sure that that space is clear. You know, I think the minimum I'd want is about 5 feet.
Okay.
So,
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got like 5 feet between our houses. Like we could probably jump to her roof if the bamboo wasn't so tall.
okay.
So.
Well, there's a possible fire escape path there, but not exactly what we're looking for with you know, brush fire safety here.
Awesome, thank you.
Anyone else have any other questions about that?
Yeah, I do. I was wondering, I have a vinyl siding in my house, but our HOA requires us to have wooden fences. So we have that wood, and our houses are fairly close together. And I know that vinyl siding will melt, as we've tried that with a grill.
A barbecue? Yeah, that's always the culprit, it seems.
Yeah.
So.
Why is the siding a little bit bent? So anyway,
Yeah.
I was just curious about, you know, like the flashing point for vinyl siding, and other than wetting down a fence, how would you make it fireproof or as harder to burn as possible?
So definitely when things are wet, you know, it takes a higher temperature. You basically have to steam out that moisture to get it to light again. You know, wood fences, there's typically space between a fence and a home. So, I mean, you do have that. And as far as the, you know, the melting point of the vinyl siding, I'm sure it depends on the brand, but that's, you know, the what is it, polyvinyl. I feel like it's somewhere in the mid 200s, but you can definitely look it up. It's pretty toxic stuff when it melts and burns. But as long as you're keeping clear around the house, I wouldn't be particularly concerned about the siding itself. Just, I don't think it's more dangerous than a wood siding. So, but I will, I'll try and figure out what that melting or burn point is.
Oh no, I can look it up. Thank you. That was very helpful.
All right. Any other wildfire safety questions before we move on? All right.
Well, actually, I had a question. So I guess it's less about for your home, but did you have any information about the Wapato Hills fire that happened?
I wasn't on shift, so I didn't go to that fire, but I believe it was, I think it was 2 houses and maybe a garage. And so it looked like it was fairly large. I saw a lot of pictures that a photographer showed up and took some pretty awesome photos. But I really don't have a lot of information about that particular fire. But every year we get a couple pretty fast moving fires. Highway 7, where it drops down and meets up with I-5. I feel like I go there 2 or 3 times every year. And, you know, it really depends on the wind. A wind-driven fire is very dangerous. You know, I typically get to those fires when they're encroaching on homes, and I see a lot of neighbors out with buckets and hoses and a lot of that neighborhood pulling together to try and knock down the fire. And you know, it does typically help. I want people to always be mindful of their own safety and their evacuation routes, because we of course have more water, but we have the protective clothing we need to be able to get in a lot closer. But definitely, I think a lot of homes have been saved by neighbors acting quickly and helping to put it out. So I know I didn't answer your question, but I don't have a lot of information. I was not at work, so.
It's still cool to hear, though. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so fires in the home. 97% of structural fire deaths are in residential properties. So I think the big takeaway from that is it's typically not schools, the workplace. There's a lot of built-in fire protection in those structures. Homes, a home in the Tacoma area could have been built any time in the last 130 years. So what the fire protection systems are like, what the construction is like, really varies. And I know that people do feel very safe in their homes, but honestly, that's where your greatest fire danger is. So the top fire causes, I know what I have here is cooking, but the top 3 causes of fire, in my professional opinion, are men, women, and children. But we'll break it down into cooking. This is a really big one, and it's very rarely a defect in materials. It is almost always decisions. With cooking, we have a lot of people who walk away from food while it's cooking. A lot of people who take several medications at the same time and are maybe not quite as alert as they should be, or people become forgetful, get on the phone. I always say, if you're cooking and you have to leave the kitchen, take something with you, like a pot lid or a wooden spoon. So when you find yourself in the living room 2 minutes later and you don't remember what you're doing, you'll have that great reminder. Open flame, you know, that's basically candles. We've got heating and arson and smoking. Smoking used to be the number 1 or number 2 cause of fire, and that's really gone down over the past 20 years. It's, you know, it's pretty close to being omitted from slides and presentations like these. So when it comes to cooking fires, again, don't leave the room. I know you will, but don't leave the room. just try and remember what you're doing. Sleepy or impaired. A lot of people, it seems that the fried foods and drinking go together. So there's not much I can say other than don't. Bake your foods, please, if you've been drinking, and you have to. With grease fires, we have a lot of incidents where someone has a small fire on a stove and they don't put it out the right way. They put water on it, which I think just about everybody has seen what water and grease does together. Anyone not aware? And it's pretty explosive. It'll make the fire grow. You'll probably end up getting injured from the splashback. Also, fire extinguishers, they're not great for grease fires at all. It's another situation where you could very well spread the fire or get grease on yourself. So I always want you to have a lid that fits, and then put the lid on, turn the heat off, and let it cool. Don't ever move the pot until it's cooled down. Definitely give us a call if it's smoky in your house. We can show up and, we'll use our fans and, we can give you about 30,000 cubic feet of clean air every minute, and we'll get that smell out of there quickly. But a lot of times people will have a fire like this, put it out, and consider it completely out, only to have it start up again later that night because it's been smoldering somewhere. Maybe it got up behind the cabinets. And so when we come in, we can give you nice fresh air, but we'll also use our thermal imager so we can take a look and see in the walls to see if that fire has spread. Candles. So the first thing I do when someone gives me a candle as a gift, other than saying thank you, I bring it home and I cut the wick off of it. I think they were great when we didn't have electricity, but beyond that, I would rather have a LED candle going. I've seen a lot of really damaging fires and a few fire fatalities caused by candles. It's candles and they're just put too close to other items. But cats and candles. I'm a crazy cat lady, but there's something about cats and candles. They knock them over, they singe their tails. And a lot of fires started by children end up being candle related. So I think a lot of times adults think that they've explained the danger of fire to their kids, and until they're 12 or 13, I don't think that they truly have any idea of how that could be. So electrical safety, this is a big one, and I'm going to show you this right here, this electrical outlet. This switch here is definitely overloaded. Just because there's 5 or 6 holes doesn't mean they all need to be filled. This slide, this is, I think, what most people think an overloaded electrical issue is. But this right here really is. It's, if you pick up your power strips and they feel hot, it means that there's too much electricity running through it. About the only place where a full power strip is normally acceptable is around a computer with its small peripherals that don't typically have a lot of a draw. But checking any cords that you have, if it's supposed to be temporary, like Christmas lights, those are not well-built heavy gauge wire. Those are typically thin, and about a month running is about good enough for them. So, if you feel those and they're hot, that's your sign that it's not a good fit for your home. Also checking to make sure that there is a UL stamp or another lab stamp on your electrical equipment. There's a lot of really inexpensively made stuff out there. A lot of times if you were to check out a power strip you find at the dollar store, it might not have any safety ratings on it. So definitely check those. And if you have circuit breakers that are constantly being tripped, you need to figure out what that is. Don't just keep resetting it. It's telling you that there is a problem. Oh.
And I do see that Robin has a question.
Oh, Robin, go ahead.
Hey, so another charming part of our 110-year-old house in Hilltop is that I was cleaning our furnace the other day. We have a wall mount fan operated furnace. It's electric. And it's supposed to get inspected once a year. And I just opened it and found, it said it was installed in 2004, and I think that's probably the last time it was cleaned. But I opened it, and at the very top of our furnace, there's the plug for the furnace, and the ground isn't in the outlet that's up there, and the outlet is actually an extension cord that was pulled through the wall rather than hard wiring.
Yeah.
And our landlord says that it's fine. And I actually just pushed back and told her I wanted to see an electrician out here to check it out, because if there's not a ground for that plug, I assume that cord isn't meant to power a furnace.
Yeah, I would not think that Labor and Industries would ever agree that a extension cord is permanent wiring. I believe the fire code has extension cords as 30 days at their max. So I would encourage you to continue to press your landlord for that. And also, you're in the city of Tacoma?
Yeah, we're in Hilltop.
Yeah, you can definitely contact the city too. They have there's a lot of fair housing resources that can kind of intercede on your behalf to make sure that that is taken care of, because that doesn't sound safe, not being able to see it. I don't know if it's a odd looking legal type, but I doubt it.
It's
So,
super shady. It's
yeah.
like there's a hole coming out of the wall, and then the extension cord and the plug and then the two wires that are capped that are also out of the wall are all covered in paint. So they painted it to make it look.
Yeah, that definitely sounds unsafe, and you really want to get that taken care of before it gets colder and those systems start being used more.
Okay, and then we were also told we have our washing machine. It's apparently brand new, supposedly, as is the wiring, again, supposedly, but it trips constantly. We've moved in here in May, and we've probably had to reset the circuit breaker 6 times or so.
Yeah,
but they say that everything's fine.
I would want an electrician to verify that. A lot of times people will put the wrong gauge wiring in with the, you need to make sure that the wiring matches the amperage. And a lot of times if somebody buys a cheaper product on one place or the other, it'll operate well. And then it'll that fuse will do its job and tell you there's a problem. So I'd say 6 times since May is definitely an issue. Oh, I'd add that to your list.
Do you know if we're with fair housing, like if we have tenant rights where we could ask for a certified electrician rather than just I don't know if the people that are coming in are licensed. I suspect they're not.
I would think, but fair housing is definitely who you want to talk to about that. But if they're not a certified or licensed electrician, then you may as well have your neighbor come by and take a look and tell you what they think. So
awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's see. So escape routes, I know everybody hears this in elementary school, but I think it's probably been a while since most of you have been in elementary school. You got to know 2 ways out, and that's out of every single room. So have an idea of what way you would get out of your own bedroom. But also if there's children in the home, make sure that they know and have practice. And does everybody know that if there is a fire or if there is smoke that you are to crawl on your hands and knees? Everybody give a thumbs up or something. We do know this, right? I know I've seen a lot of adults come out of fires that were able to evacuate themselves, but they walked out. And smoke rises and heat rises, and a house fire 60 years ago would have smelled like a campfire. A house fire now is a bunch of toxic chemicals. Everybody's couches and beds, they're full of plastics and a lot of nasty stuff. You've got hydrogen cyanide, acrylate. There's so many horrendous gases in the air that you want to get down low. Even if it's not too hot, you want to get to where that clean air is and get out as quickly as possible. Now, a big part of escaping is getting out quickly. And as a crazy cat lady, that does not mean getting on the ground, crawling under your bed to get the cat that is afraid of the alarm. I have been on more than one fatality that was caused by someone going back in for their cats. I've also been to many house fires where the house was destroyed, and I went in and found many a living kitty cat. Cats do die in fires, but they are a lot smarter than we are when it comes to house fires. They get to the cleanest air. And, if we don't have to look for people, if we get there and everybody's out of the house, we can knock the fire down a lot faster. If we have to launch a search and a rescue, that's going to slow us down, and that fire is going to have, it's going to do more damage, and it's just a lot more risk. So Again, having a meeting place for everyone to gather outside. It doesn't sound like a very big thing, but I've been to several fires where, you know, half the family's on one side of the house and they think that they're the only ones that got out, because you can't really think that clearly, you know, and the other side of the house is the rest of the family and they're in a panic too. So talk about it. Maybe it's down the street at the mailbox, maybe it's, you know, a couple doors down, but make sure everybody in your house knows where you're going to go. And again, safety element. So smoke alarms, the single most important thing you can have in a house. You need to have them and make sure that they're working. Tacoma Fire, we provide free smoke alarms. We have 10-year alarms. They've got a little battery. As soon as I pull the tab, it activates. It's good for 10 years. 10 years is also the maximum amount of time you should have a smoke alarm. And don't continue to do well beyond that. So please check your alarms. I can provide anyone free alarms in Tacoma Fire for Furcrest. I cannot take down hardwired alarms. So if your alarms are, you know, plugged into your system, into the house, and they all go off together, I can't take those down, but I can always provide you with new alarms. So, but you should have a smoke alarm in every bedroom. You should have one on every level of the home. And you should make sure that they work. And I'm also supposed to tell you to sleep with your door closed. So if you see, when we do investigations and even UL, they do a lot of really good experiments dealing with fire spread, and the difference between an open door and a closed door gives you a lot more notice and time to get out. Smoke alarms will go off. You know, you want to make sure you got that alarm in the hallway. It should wake you up even with your door shut. And it doesn't take very much smoke to alert smoke alarms behind a closed door. They're very sensitive. Make sure you don't put your bathroom though. A lot of people have a nice steamy shower and their alarm goes off. And when your alarm goes off enough, people tend to quit listening to them. It kind of becomes a nuisance and they don't actually react to them like it's an actual fire. So carbon monoxide, definitely, if, you know, state law requires you to have one if you're going to sell a home. But I suggest people have them anyways, you know, even if you're not selling, if you have a source, you know, do you have attached garage? Do you have wood or gas anywhere in the house? Definitely, you know, it's odorless. The alarms can be a little bit sensitive. We go to a lot of alarms that have gone off, and we go in and we use our detectors, which are more sensitive. But we definitely don't mind coming out, because carbon monoxide is the kind of thing that if you don't have an alarm and you've got carbon monoxide too much present, people can go to sleep and just not wake up. So those alarms are, I wish I had a statistic for how many people they save a year, but again, people would never know. So, you know, and fire extinguishers, I know that says to have it mounted in an obvious spot. I doubt many or any of you are going to mount your fire extinguisher in your home, but I can tell you good places for them are near the exits, definitely in the garage. A lot of fires start there, laundry rooms. The one place it shouldn't be is under the sink in your kitchen, all the way in the back. And I'm guessing that's where it is for a lot of you. But fire extinguishers, you know, if you pick it up, flip it over. If you feel it, if you feel the material inside, you probably need a new one. But if you flip it over and it feels like the material is loose, I mean, it's a nice dry powder. If you look at the bezel and it shows that it's in the green and there's no defects, there isn't a bunch of spiders living in the hose, it should work for you. So, anybody have any extinguisher questions?
Yeah, so it for me at least, your voice cut out really briefly. So you're saying that if you can hear stuff moving inside, that's good?
So it's a dry powder in there, and it's supposed to stay a powder. So you should pick it up. I like to use daylight savings. So spring forward, fall back, pick it up, kind of smack it. But if you pick it up and you flip it and it feels like a rock dropping in there,
Oh,
then it's solidified. There's moisture in it. It's not going to work for you. But you should pick it up and it should feel much more smooth. So.
and then my other question was more towards, so when it comes to law enforcement, and I'm assuming it's very similar for fire department, a huge barrier for people to calling is they don't want to feel like they're inconveniencing like the responders. So is there, I mean, how often do you get calls to, hey, there's smoke and we just want you to come in and just like make sure that everything's okay, you know, like that kind of those like it may or may not be an emergency, but you want to just get it checked out.
That's totally our job. So I mean, if there's smoke or fire, that's like kind of what we do. So I mean, I know that people don't happen to have fans that blow 30,000 cubic feet a minute, and they don't have thermal imaging cameras. So that's not a bother at all. We want those calls because we want to stop problems while they're small. I'd much rather show up to 100 houses to blow out the smoke and find one, you know, that would have caught fire again later. So that's exactly what we're here for. We have the tools, training, and the time. I mean, we'll make it there. So.
This is Donna. I have a question. So, I mean, I'm looking at some of the symbols on this fire extinguisher. If I go to Costco or McClendon's or something, those are good places to get a fire extinguisher, or would they all be the same? Are they rated for certain things, or?
So the most ubiquitous fire extinguisher you're going to find is a dry chemical extinguisher, or it's also called an ABC. So there's 4 basic types of fire, and type A is basically wood, paper, and plastic.
Uh-huh.
Type B is flammable gases, flammable liquids, sorry. And class C is an electrical fire, which is basically an A or B fire with electricity running through it. And you can use this same basic extinguisher on all of those. And if you look, there's even instructions on how to use it. Or if you go to the city of Tacoma's website and look under fire, there's a video with instructions. And I'm pretty sure it's me. So.
And so another couple of questions. And so when you said you check it and if it's hard as a rock, then get rid of it, where would you dispose of something like that?
You know, you can have them refilled, and it really depends basically year to year and who you call, whether it's less expensive to have it refilled or just to buy a new one. I've heard of companies refilling them for, you know, $4 or $5. So I'd call around town and see who's available and just take it in and have it refilled and recharged. Because there's a gas in there as well. And you can see that, I don't know if you can see the green line on that. There's a little glass on the front of the extinguisher.
I think so. Uh-huh.
So it's basically, most of the circle is red, and up at the very top is a little green area. And that tells you that it is full if it's in the green. If it's just a teeny bit out of the green, consider it empty.
Okay.
So, but there's also CO2 extinguishers, and those are good for, you know, class B and C fires, and you can find other types, but if you go looking for an extinguisher, that's what you're going to find. It's a 5-pound dry chemical extinguisher, and it'll have A, B, and C on the side of it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I got a question about the extinguishers.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, okay. I've been using a headset. I forgot this thing has a microphone. Anyway, I was thinking that the fire department used to fill, it seems like we used to take the extinguishers to a fire station and you could get them refilled there. Obviously, you don't do that anymore, if that was something.
Not in the past 13 years. I don't know.
Yeah, this is quite a while
I don't know
ago.
before. So now, sorry, let me move around here. So the The fire extinguishers typically have sodium bicarbonate, so baking soda in them, or monoammonium phosphate.
Oh.
So, I mean, the key word in that is phosphate. So I used to let people practice with our old extinguishers and let them put out fires, but it's really hard to keep those phosphates from getting into the water system. And, you know, they cause algae blooms. I mean, if you were to spray it on your lawn, you'd have a dark green spot there because it's, you know, it's too much nutrient. So it wouldn't surprise me if back in the day, that was something that was routinely done. But we don't refill them. And even our own fire garage, we have a company that refills them for us because we happen to use a lot. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Now, did you answer her question about where to dispose of them? I might have been jotting my information down.
I think I maybe didn't. I told her that they can be refilled.
Yeah.
And that's of course my preference. You know, why create a whole new vessel?
Oh, yeah.
But it depends what transfer station you use. I don't know if everyone here is in Tacoma or not, but it depends. It basically depends on the dump whether or not they will accept them.
Would it be a hazardous waste item?
I think it would be, and I believe they do take them in Tacoma, but definitely the contents inside need to be handled well. So, but the companies that recharge and refill them already have that system in place.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I've been told by several people that they got a wide variety of prices quoted to them over the phone. So it's definitely a call around and check with a couple of people first.
I didn't even think of who would. Well, we'll just look under fire extinguisher.
Yeah, and Google. That says.
Yeah. I had one question about the carbon monoxide. I was wondering if there was any statistics about whether people had a raise of increased levels in their homes during the smoke week.
I haven't heard anything about that, and I would think that it's probably a no. I mean, there were definitely a lot of particulate matter that was in the air.
I know that there was a report about some people in Oregon who they were talking about, but they had it for longer periods too than we did have.
Yeah, but that
it was interesting. People were finding themselves sleepy, all the symptoms of carbon monoxide poisoning.
Well, and people are definitely getting less clean oxygen too.
Yeah, apparently no alarms that went off though in homes.
Yeah, yeah. So I honestly don't know about the carbon monoxide levels and how close you need to be to a large fire for that. But I know leaving your doors shut is definitely advisable, and try not to do outdoor activities when the air quality is poor.
Well, that's the reason that it increased in the houses though. That's the problem people were having. They were leaving their doors shut. And they were finding some people were presenting with carbon monoxide.
Okay, then that would be people that are already having a problem in their home. Then they're just containing it. So we typically find problems with carbon monoxide when the power goes out and people try new and creative ways of keeping their house warm, like bringing in a grill. That seems to happen. I feel like I hear about a fatality every winter on the local news. I don't believe we've had any in Tacoma, at least in the past 10 years, but it's a common thing that people bring it in, and the symptoms are such, it's a little bit of nausea, maybe a headache. So a lot of people don't realize that it's a poisonous gas. Yeah. Robin? Robin, did you have a question too?
Sorry, I had to find the unmute button. So our fire extinguisher in our house, it's this enormous one. It says it's almost overcharged, but then on it, there's apparently basic fire and safety, and Buckley checked it every 6 years, but it looks like the last time it got checked was in 2007. I tried tipping it over and I don't really feel anything. Should I probably get a new one?
You can also have it checked again. So one thing that they do is they're supposed to be refilled or recharged every 6 years. And then they're also hydrostatically tested. So they make sure that that vessel is sound. If you didn't feel anything strange when you flipped it, I'm guessing that the material's still good in it. What I don't want you to do is, discharge a little of it to check, because then you're letting out some of the gas. So it's one of those things. I have one in my house that's quite old, but I pick it up every daylight savings, and I flip it down, and I hit it and make sure that everything's shook up in there. I have no doubts that it'll work. And different manufacturers, sometimes they'll put an expiration date on them. Most manufacturers don't. So if it's been 6 years, it's definitely a good idea to get it checked again.
Okay.
Oh.
Awesome. Thank you.
Oh, of course. And then here's my last slide, and then I'll just take questions. It's basically, if you have a fire, some of these are, I think, are pretty obvious, but leave. That's the big one. You actually have to leave. A lot of people, they want to try and collect some of their favorite belongings. That's not what I want you to do. I want you to get out so I can put the fire out and you can have all your belongings. Call 911 from outside. You probably have a cell phone on your person. Definitely let us know, even if it was a small fire and you think you put it out. Because you can't see within the walls, you're not going to know if you did have fire spread. And I have been really surprised to find where a fire started and where the secondary fire starts later. A lot of times it seems like it's quite far away, and I can't make sense of how the fire got to that particular area. And then this one's, especially for people who live in a multifamily dwelling, don't ignore alarms. I know there's a lot of buildings that have a lot of nuisance alarms, and people, after a while, just assume that it is not, hey, this isn't real, it always happens. That's when you're going to get hurt. So treat all the alarms as if it's an actual fire, and once you're out, stay out. So we tell all the kids, get out and stay out. Don't go back in for anything. That's my job. I've got the right gear, I've got the right equipment and the right training to get in there, get your things safely, and take care of the problem. So yeah, and let us know. Just because we're already aware that there's a fire, so this goes for a lot of people that are in multifamily buildings, we might be there, but we're still answering the phones at 911. So if you're on the 4th floor and you can't get down, that's information that you can call us and let us know. And we're down establishing a plan. We have to plan to evacuate people. We have to plan searching. We have to plan for putting the fire out. And all these things are happening at the same time, but we can definitely take that additional information. So does anyone have any other questions for me? Jody?
Yeah. Good guess. Can you see my name? Because it just says.
You just look like a Jody.
That's good. When you were talking about extension cords or Christmas lights, did you say that the cords on those are only going to last maybe a month, a year, or during the season one time?
No, I wasn't saying that they're only good for a season. I was saying that they shouldn't be up 365 days a year.
Oh, outside, yeah.
It's
right.
thin wire.
Yeah.
So the wire in those is cheaper. And
I got that. I reuse them a lot, but it's just for the season.
Yeah, that would be very expensive. I have a whole new set. I go into a lot of teenagers' bedrooms at work where they have Christmas lights wrapped around things, and I know they've been there for a year or two, and nobody's checking them.
There's a lot of
it always
now that you can get,
which is much better. I mean,
the
bulbs used to be very hot, and I mean most of Christmas tree fires, I believe, were caused by just those hot bulbs. But the LEDs now, they're much cooler, but there can still be wiring issues. So
That brings me to the other question. I missed the first part. I was running around trying to get my headset. Did you discuss anything about knob and tube
I didn't,
in homes?
but I will tell you that I believe a knob and tube wiring system is pretty much fine until you start adding on to it and messing with it.
You mean overloading it or messing with the actual wires and making them fray or something?
Yeah, I mean, any damage to electrical wiring is bad, but a lot of times people will take a knob and tube system and then they'll just start adding on, Romex from there. And if you have a knob and tube system and you have any concerns, I would suggest consulting an electrician. And if you're going to do work, I'd suggest consulting at least 3. Because again, it's always a wide range, but a lot of knob and tube systems are just fine.
I've heard that it's not alarming, pardon the pun, alarming, to have a knob and tube and it'll run. I mean, it's from the 20s, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Most of them.
Yeah.
But I was shocked to find out our home that was built in the 50s, apparently a good portion of the one end of the house has knob and tube and the rest isn't. But an electrician found that when he was wiring an outlet for it. He didn't say it was bad, but now you're making me wonder, but it's been fine for years. There's been no things tripping or anything.
Yeah, I think the bigger issue is some homeowners insurance companies won't insure knob and tube.
Yeah, that's what
I know
heard,
definitely
had no
some do
idea.
because there's a lot of homes that have it, but as long as the system is intact, I don't know of them being especially problematic. It's
Yeah, our
just,
inspector never said anything about it, but he also told us we had 220 and it wasn't completely proper, so we had to redo that.
no.
Okay, that I just wondered if that's something to be really worried about, because there's no symptoms of anything being bad.
Yeah, no fuses.
For decades, no problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't be concerned. I just make sure you have smoke alarms.
Yeah.
That's
And you said we can come and get new ones from you guys?
I can install them. We don't just hand them out. We go to the house and we make sure that you have one in every bedroom and on every level of the home. So
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
So we just have a couple, probably time for one more question or so. But I did also just want to say, if everyone wouldn't mind, if you wouldn't mind putting your first and last name or whatever information you'd like to give us, first your name and then your email address in the chat. It'll really help us for taking attendance. So is there anybody else with one last question for Marja?
I gotta ask this. I'm sorry to be the one hogging the questions, but one of my hopes with this was to hear something, and I don't think it's very common, but the issue of wildfire is a possibility here in the city, isn't it? Because we have a lot of trees, and wildfire in the sense that we've got forest in a lot of the middle of the city. So I'm curious what the fire department knows about how to fight wildfires. Kind of a big question.
Well, I would say that wildland firefighting is definitely not our specialty, but urban interface is something that we cover a lot in our training and something that we practice for every year. We actually have a brush rig that is set up just for wildlands firefighting. We've got a couple of areas with a lot of trees. 5 Mile Drive, I believe I was up there 3 weeks ago for a fire. And that's one of those areas where, we've got to be fast and careful. And so we definitely don't have the kind of experience that a Department of Natural Resources crew would. But for the amount of wildlands we have, our training is more than adequate.
Well, I'm interested in seeing homeowners take some of the precautions that a lot of people in California do. I live in a neighborhood that does have a lot of trees, and along Orchard, there's a lot of scrub brush and trees from 12th to 19th. And it's the kind of thing that if those went, they could just move right on into the houses and then go through the whole neighborhood.
12th to 19th on Orchard?
South.
Okay.
Yeah, there
Just
used to be a
trying to-
nice forest there, but it's apartments across the street. But
Okay.
all along there, I know the city's cut back a lot of the scrub brush, you know, and to prevent that. But just one cigarette, and with things as dry as they are, there's a whole lot of trees out there. I'm concerned that we are potential, you know, burn a neighborhood down with a real quick flick of some ashes onto some of these trees, you know.
Well, I think,
Big pockets would go.
you know, I definitely don't want to downplay the danger because, you know, with forests, you can have forest fires, but we pack a lot of water. So, you know, a house fire in Tacoma is going to get you 5 engines, 2 ladders, a medic unit, 2 battalion chiefs, a safety officer. We're all coming as fast as we can from the nearest available locations. We have hydrants about every 700 feet in the city, a very impressive water flow, and a bunch of engines that can flow several thousand gallons a minute. So while I can't say that there isn't any danger, I can say that we really are well equipped for it. But people taking care of their own homes and making sure that they have an area clear of combustible materials goes a long way. You know, you talk about places.
I think a lot of people don't think about that in the city. You know, making sure that they've cut their bushes down low and, you know, all that stuff. Get rid of the duff.
Yeah. And so the ground duff is actually a really, really good point. Before, you know, most of the areas where you see these massive forest fires they're a normal part of the ecology. And without housing tracts and roads in the middle, small fires would rip through, take out the ground duff, some shrubs. You know, there's a lot of plants that only produce seeds after they've been burned. I mean, that's part of their reproductive process. But once you put roads and housing developments in, you stop those fires from proceeding through or happening, and you get more and more buildup. You have more bushes, more trees. So then when a fire does make that break, it's a lot stronger and bigger. So there's a lot of towns that have those dangers, and they've enacted those precautions into their local laws. And that's something we haven't done, but we also haven't had the need. We'll see if we've got a lot of climate change issues, and we'll see how that changes, you know, the face of urban firefighting in the next 10 years.
Yeah. Thank you. I would like to see some sort of training for people to be more prepared for something like that in the neighborhoods that do have a lot of trees. Fircrest, those people. I mean, it could happen.
Well, I am more than willing to distribute information too. So we can put some up on our city site.
Thank you. I'm done.
Any other questions?
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for listening to me. I'm really excited that I managed to go this entire time without, you know, my children coming in or, you know, the cat jumping on my screen. So,
do you know where they are? They're probably having a really good time.
I can hear my wife and kids in the living room, so I think I'm safe. And the cat's sleeping here, so I'll be safe. But
I was encouraged to hear what you said about cats, that they can find their way into a pocket of air. Maybe that's a really interesting.
Yeah, they get down low and they hide from the noise, but you know, chances are they caused the fire by knocking over a candle. So you know,
a double-edged
give and
sword.
take.
It really is.
Yeah. Okay, well, I just want to say thank you so much, Marja, for coming out and doing this presentation. I know that I heard a lot of things that I've never thought of before, and so this was really beneficial for me. And I also just wanted to say thank you to everyone who's able to attend. I do really quickly just want to talk about, we have a couple additional training opportunities coming up through Safe Streets. Next Tuesday, the 29th, from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., we're going to be having our awareness and safety training. That's also going to be over Zoom, and that's going to be with South Sound 911, a Tacoma police officer, as well as a deputy from the Pierce County Sheriff's Department. And that's going to talk about sort of what to do when you find yourself in a situation where you need to call 911, and also kind of what to expect when you do call. And it really just takes you through how best to navigate those situations where you may have witnessed a crime or need to report something. And that will be through Zoom next week. And if you're interested, you can let me know and I'm able to get you that link. And then starting October 1st, every Thursday through October, we're going to be having our Safe Streets Community Conference. In previous years, obviously, the conference has been a one-day in-person thing at the Pierce County Skills Center. This year, we've chose to make it a digital workshop series that's going to also be over Zoom. And so if you're interested in attending the Safe Streets Community Conference series, more information on that's available on the Safe Streets website, and I will put the link in the chat. Otherwise, thank you everybody so much for attending, and I hope that you have a great evening.
Right, and I also put my email in the chat if anyone has any further questions or needs smoke alarms. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes,
so
thanks a lot.
Lieutenant. Thank you, Eric. Good job.
thank you. You have a good night.
Good night.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.